Again on LSR Live. I'm your host, Scott Ritsema, and we're going to have a guest today, Lewis Bertus. You may know him if you've watched every single LSR Live. You've seen him on diabetes in the past, but today we're going to be talking about healthy liver function. So I think you're really going to want to tune in for the totality of that. A underrated, underappreciated topic you will find out by the end. And you're going to be telling all your friends about the importance of the liver and why we need to have a healthy liver. You're going to be making changes, I think, yourself, because the liver is very important. And speaking of important, is getting yourself to the store and making sure that you have the throat protection with Revita Guard, that you have the nasal protection with Revita Sinus. And I told you guys last week that these are flying off the shelves. They can't keep these on the shelves. And that's not just a gimmick. Like, that's actually happening in the LSR store. So get over there. If they're in stock at this moment as you're watching this, order them. And if they're not, save that tab and order them when they come up. But what I have not told you about recently is the spray for your hands. The Revita Hands is the name for that. Oh, the essential oils on that are so good. It's a hand sanitizer that is not alcohol-based and gross and smelly. It smells good. And just use that regularly, routinely, and you won't be as exposed to things because you're practicing proper sanitation. But then when you do feel something coming on, hit the throat, hit the nasal right away. I'm telling you guys, there's a reason they're 4.9 stars. Is because they work, and people love them, and they reorder them, and you'll get hooked, I think. Let's talk to Lewis. Lewis, welcome to LSR Live. You're no stranger to this program. I really enjoyed our chat last time about diabetes a couple of weeks ago. I know that's a specialty of yours, and as we go forward here, I want to make sure that you can offer your consultations on that. But there's a broader knowledge base that you bring to the table and counseling people in their health. Today, we're going to zoom in on the liver. So could you begin by just kind of telling our listeners why we should talk about, you don't hear a lot of live streams, a lot of videos, a lot of people talking about the liver, and why is it an important organ in your estimation?
Yep. Always good to talk with you, Scott. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed our last.
We need Lewis's audio.
Can you hear me?
Jeremy, I believe we're missing his audio, and I'm just on his end. Right. Notify me if he was actually talking and I interrupted him, but I didn't hear Lewis. So I can tell you, I know God gave us a liver, and it does serve important functions. I don't want to steal Lewis's thunder, but you want to give it another try there, brother? He's looking for, okay, so we don't hear him yet. But I want to say, how many of you guys watching, by the way, load up the chat with your questions, with your comments, and how many of you right now in the chat loved last week's program? That was maybe, I mean, a few of them are tied for my favorite. But that was an awesome program, going right into the LSR kitchen, learning about healthy holiday cooking. So to our American audience right now, by the way, happy Thanksgiving to each of you. We thought, well, shall we go live on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving? It's the holidays. Are people going to be around and wanting to be watching? And I said, well, what better group to be with? Our community, our LSR online viewers, as we head into the holiday here. So what a delight to have you all with us. And I can tell you, Lewis, I saw you nod. Or
are you hearing me?
Not yet. And Jeremy, do let me know if everybody else can hear Lewis and I can't.
Yeah, they can.
Know that. So that would be bad if I just keep interrupting him, not letting him talk. But I told you guys last time how much weight the average American gains, and I'm guessing the numbers are globally similar because that lifestyle. Oh, Jeremy tells me that they can hear Lewis. Okay. Well, Kathleen says you can hear both. Oh, I got some problems tonight then. Sorry, everybody. Let me see if I can figure that out. But Lewis, you take the floor, and don't expect I'll be able to ask you any follow-up questions right now.
Well, oh no, this might just be a lecture then instead of a conversation. But yeah, you work on your end, and I'll try to anticipate what questions you would ask. Well, I guess I could also say if let me pull up the chat. Maybe what I also can do is have you put the questions in the chat. Where is it? Yeah. So Jeremy, if you don't mind making that suggestion to Scott, maybe you could put the questions in the chat. So your first question was really important. Why is it a topic we should talk about? Well, we all know there's only one liver, very important organ in the body. How many of us know how important this liver is as far as what it does for us? I doubt many of us know the extent. So some studies estimate that there are over 500 different functions that the liver actually is in charge of, which makes sense why it's such a large organ in the body. Second to the skin, the liver is the largest organ in the human body. You can only live days without it. So those who are on the end stage of liver disease, and when they're in complete liver failure, they can die within days or weeks. Literally, you're drowning in your own body's toxins. Because one of the liver's main functions is to detoxify chemicals that come into the body. But many other things are important and must be done by the liver, such as digestion and metabolism of nutrients coming in, clotting the blood, storing vitamins, and creating protein. So the liver is something you don't want to be unkind to. It will get back at you. Okay, so people can't live long without a liver, though you can live long you could live without one kidney. You can't live without the liver. So Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can.
All right, okay, good. All
Yeah,
right,
it's an important organ. I knew you'd say it, and I
Yeah,
knew you'd
I said it was
bring
important.
info. Yeah. But I think probably people realize its importance once they or a loved one have liver disease. So talk to us about liver disease and how we want to get to the point where we're going to reverse it, prevent it. But first of all, just what is liver disease and how does it coming about and what's its prevalence? How many people are suffering from that?
Yeah, so absolutely. And I want to go ahead and preface because I'm noticing a lot of questions about detoxing the liver or cleansing the liver. Um, my specialty, I should say, my expertise is in nutrition. Like that's what I've studied. I don't know a lot about herbs and detoxing. So if there's questions about detoxes, I know fasting is very helpful in cleansing the liver. So if you're doing prolonged or an intermittent fast, that would be a great idea. Certainly lemon cleanses can be helpful. So I never know everyone's heard of the lemonade cleanse. But outside of that, I think it's so important to focus on nutrition when it comes to managing and reversing chronic disease, because you eat 3 times a day. And no matter how many times you cleanse, if you're putting the wrong stuff in your body 3 times a day, you don't just stop cleansing. It's not working, right? So we got to know what to eat 3 times daily, and that's most important. I'm saying cleansing and detoxing isn't important, but not as important as what we eat to prevent and reverse disease. So that's what I hope to make the focus on tonight. But sorry, Scott, with that little I got sidetracked. What was that second question?
What's the prevalence of liver disease in American society or globally?
Yeah. So in American society, at this point, 30% of adults have liver disease. 1 in 3 of us have liver disease. That skyrockets when you look at those who are obese. For example, when you look at adolescents and children, 80% of those who are obese have liver disease. 50% of diabetics, if you have diabetes, 1 in 5 have liver disease. Actually, I have a chart. I think if I could share, am I able to share my screen?
Jeremy, can you help him with that?
I think I could do that. If you guys can see that. And I could see that. I think someone has to just show it. But
30% is an alarming
basically
number.
what this, I want to show you guys is that whenever you have, oh, there it is. Is everyone seeing that? I think I'm seeing it.
Yeah, that's up.
It's up. Okay, let me make sure. All right. So yeah, you can see the prevalence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's actually interesting. You see MASLD is actually the term that fatty liver disease is now being used, or the term that's being used for it, because the MA stands for metabolic dysfunction. So metabolic, where you probably have heard non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or non-alcoholic liver inflammation, or NASH, steatohepatitis. I'm sorry. Now the term is called metabolic dysfunction, and I like that because it highlights what really causes liver disease is metabolic dysfunctions. So when you look at metabolic dysfunctions, like being overweight, 55% of people who are overweight having a BMI greater than 30 have liver disease, right? Over half, 66% actually, according to this, of diabetics have liver disease. Those who have high cholesterol, 43% of them have liver disease. Those with high blood pressure, 44% of people who have high blood pressure have liver disease. Metabolic syndrome, that's anyone who has all of the above, including diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, a combination of those things, high elevated triglyceride levels, have 74%. That's huge, 74%. And those in high risk groups, those are those Hispanic females of BMI greater than 30 who are type 2 diabetics. That's a huge high risk group. 92% of them have liver disease. So you talk about prevalence, and I guess we could stop showing that. When you talk about prevalence, this is a huge problem, and it's specific to very isolated groups, but mainly those who are suffering from metabolic dysfunction.
Okay. And the greater the health condition, the greater the risk for liver disease. I mean, that's a correlation that's undeniable. And so the thing about poor health choices is they cause a domino effect in our body, don't they? Where it affects this, it affects that, it affects this, it affects that. But then you reverse that and you make right choices, and it's just like every organ of your body starts to improve. So how do you know, other than, okay, I have type 2 diabetes, I have I'm overweight, I'm in these high risk groups, I probably have liver dysfunction, liver disease of some kind because I'm in one of these high risk groups. Other than that calculation, is there a way to tell, are there symptoms of liver disease?
That's a great question, because there are none, especially in the early stages of liver disease. That's what makes it such a sneaky condition. It's not until maybe when you get to later stages of fibrosis and cirrhosis that you're going to start having symptoms. But other than that, it's an asymptomatic condition. There's no symptoms. Most people who are diagnosed with liver disease it's an incidental finding, meaning we were looking for something else. Another funny thing was about that, like as a physician assistant, we do our health screenings. So there's two ways that usually people find out they have liver disease. Probably the more common way is that someone's liver enzymes are elevated. So those are the specific enzymes that we test very routinely in primary care is AST and ALT. Those are two enzymes that basically spill over from the liver into the blood whenever there's dying liver cells. These enzymes spill over into the blood. And so when they're elevated on so for example, I see they're elevated. The first thing I'm thinking, okay, let's do an ultrasound and look at the health of the liver. The ultrasound will confirm that you have liver fat. And the way they diagnose it, if you have at least 5% or greater a fat in your liver, then you have fatty liver disease. And to say more on that, it's interesting because, I know we're going to talk about the causes. Most often, first thing you think is this person has to stop drinking alcohol, right? And I remember for my first few months in practice, diagnosing people with liver disease once in a while, I would tell them to cut back on alcohol, and they'll say, Dr. Bertus, I don't drink alcohol, right? And that would be often the reaction I'd get. And many providers would think that they're lying, but they're not lying. It's something else, and that's why it's very important to have to understand that the same disease that's caused by alcohol, right? So for most of our time, we've known that alcoholics drinking long enough are going to develop liver disease, right? But now we know that many more people are developing liver disease sans alcohol, without drinking alcohol. And it tells you something about how toxic some of the foods are that we put in our body, that it has a very same effect that alcohol does.
That took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, I mean, we know alcohol is a toxin. Mm-hmm. And immediately when it hits the body, your body sets about detoxifying that. It sees it as not a nutrient, not a healthy food. But what you're saying is if liver disease is coming so much also from diet and non-alcohol risk factors, then those are also toxins. You're saying you just said our diet is toxic. Yes. That's some alarming language, and the medical profession didn't even see that before. They were just like, "Nah, it's alcohol. These guys are lying." But how many of them are they coming around on this?
So it's and I'll tell you why it's difficult too. And I see some really good questions here. Like someone mentioned that their husband has had itchy eyes and weight around the abdomen, or ascites, they call it. I will say this, just because someone has elevated liver enzymes does not mean they have liver disease either. So it's not like there are many other causes of liver enzymes being elevated. There's other causes of liver disease that we're not going to probably have time to get into in this live. So like someone's husband who has symptoms, it could be something different than liver disease. It could it doesn't, or if it even is liver disease, it's not necessarily non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we know is caused by poor nutrition. Okay. So definitely want to get if you have symptoms like that, you want to make sure you're talking to your provider and getting appropriate lab work done and further testing. All right. But I think why people are having a hard time with liver disease is because it's not like your traditional conditions where you can just prescribe a pill and they're good, right? If your blood pressure is elevated, what do? You give them blood pressure medicine. If your cholesterol is high, you give them a statin drug. If your blood sugar level is high, you give them metformin, you give them insulin, you give them blood sugar medicines, and the numbers get better. The liver doesn't operate that way. There is no medicine you can give to improve liver disease. So it's very hard for doctors to feel incentivized to care about it. I'm sorry to say about it. It's the only thing that changes it that we know is a diet and lifestyle change. And how many of our doctors know how to educate people on a proper diet and lifestyle change? We only know medicine. So we are dealing with a condition that doctors almost are crippled when it comes to treating, because all we do is just monitor it until it gets so bad that you need liver replacement, right? Tell you stop drinking alcohol, stop eating sugar. And then you highlight the fact that, those who get the test done, sometimes their liver, I think the studies say up to 50% of people who have liver disease have normal blood tests. So not only do you have no symptoms, but you can have absolutely no elevated enzymes. So 50% are walking around and then all of a sudden they're end-stage liver disease, end-stage liver, cirrhosis, and their liver enzymes were normal. Right? What is normal? Someone asks, what is normal? According to Liver Society, normal liver enzymes, and there's two main ones, AST and ALT, but the ALT is more specific for the liver. So if you're a woman, you want your ALT to be less than 19 or less. If you're a man, 30 or less, right? And most labs are going to tell you 50 or 60 is normal, but 50 or 60 can indicate liver disease. So, but if you want to think of a number to go by, this is why, Scott, it's so important to focus on prevention. I do equate it to diabetes because many people think because their A1C is normal, I'm good for another year. Meanwhile, insulin resistance is ravaging their pancreas until they're 8 years later a full-blown diabetic, and they could have stopped it years ago. So we shouldn't just rely on testing. We should know right now, how do I prevent this from happening? How to prevent my liver from failing?
Absolutely. And if you don't have symptoms, and many people have it, don't know they have it, And there aren't really medical solutions for mainstream medicine that are simple, like you were mentioning with the others. I think it really makes us all think the liver conversation is an important one to motivate me to do what I know is healthy for my body on every front, just to make sure that
Yeah.
I'm not messing up my liver, because so many people, you saw the bar graphs, folks. This is not something we can mess around with. So how do give us the lifestyle program? What's the diet? What's the treatment if you have it, or
Mhm.
if you fear you might have it? I don't mean fear, but if you're, if you think I may have it because I'm in one of these groups that where it's higher risk, I'm overweight, for example. What should people do if they're overweight? So how do you treat it? How do you prevent it? Is what probably a lot of people want to hear as well. Give us your dietary liver disease reversal and prevention advice.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge some of the comments. I think Gracie Lou says, my doctor didn't believe me for a long time that I was a drinker. I wasn't a drinker. Mine stemmed from diabetes. Absolutely. Because now that I think about it, Scott, we could probably be talking for a while about this, but insulin resistance is one of the leading root causes of this problem, and which is the problem in diabetes. We won't get too much in detail with that, but and Myrtle says that I had a question about forgetfulness. Only in advanced stages of the disease do you get what's called encephalopathy, when there's inflammation in the brain, not in typical like fatty liver disease. Now you're talking about NASH or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, which is inflammation in the liver when in an advanced stage of liver disease. But fatty liver, I want to focus on that because that's where most of us are going to find is reversible. Even in the late stages, that you can reverse the scarring. You can, but there's a certain level of scarring that you can get to that's irreversible, right? In the later stages of the disease, but it can be improved and stalled at any stage. So you could stall the damage, but in the early stages, you could actually completely reverse it. The stages that pertain to fatty liver without the cirrhosis. And I see it, Scott, all the time. All the clients, most, I would say, the clients that I'm working with have had diabetes for a long time. So they do have some level of fatty liver disease. And when they go on, and when they actually embrace the dietary changes that I recommend, the fatty liver, the enzymes get better, the fat in the liver releases, it goes away, because a low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet reverses liver disease at its root cause. So, to
Yeah, you
understand,
said it.
yeah, that's basically it. To understand the treatment, you have to understand the cause. So there's kind of three causes, right? That we all have come to understand causes fatty liver, and that is sugar, okay, or when I say sugar, refined carbs, not complex, refined carbs, dietary fat, the fat that you eat, and the fat that you wear, the fat in your body. So that's why, number one, if you lose weight, most studies say that with 10% weight loss, you could reverse fatty liver disease. So basically, at 10% weight loss, the fat that's stored in your body in your liver starts to release itself. Okay, because adipose tissue basically sends those free fatty acids back to the liver, right? So when you start decreasing adipose tissue, now there's less free fat in the liver. Let's talk about the sugar. Of course, sugar is a problem. It's a volume issue, right? Refined sugar or refined carbs are without fiber, right? So when you eat something, when you drink that juice or that soda or that pastry or whatever it is that is refined or added sugars, it goes straight to your liver. The fructose portion of that sugar goes straight to your liver. 100% of the fructose that is in a sugar, it must be processed by the liver. It's very simple. That's where it's similar to alcohol. So when you drink alcohol, it's like everyone knows the analogy. It's like giving a shot to your liver, because 80% of the alcohol goes to the liver. The liver has to take in 80% of the calories from that shot of liquor, right? And has to process it and metabolize it. That's why it gets overwhelmed and turns into frog raw. It turns into fat, right? So when you have a diet that's high in sugar, has a lot of sugar, you're basically overwhelming the liver, because the liver has to take in 100% of that fructose and metabolize it in a very short period of time. That does not happen with complex carbs, because complex carbs serve as a braking system so that there's more of a drip, slow drip to the liver. Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sugar, fat, saturated fat specifically, fat from meat, dairy, eggs, cheese. Those are foods that are highest in saturated fat that lead to fatty liver disease. So when you go on a whole food plant-based diet, you're eliminating the animal fats, so you're low in saturated fat. You're eliminating the refined sugars, and obviously you're losing weight. So you're basically reversing all the causes of liver disease in one go by eating a low-fat, whole food plant-based diet.
What if you are losing weight by going on a keto diet that's higher in fat and lower in the fiber? And, you said if you lose 10% weight, or 20%, was it 10% of your weight? If you're losing 10% of your weight, you're reversing your fatty liver disease. But what if that's weight loss due to a keto diet as opposed to the whole plant food diet that you recommend?
Great question. And I have to be honest to say, when you go on a keto diet, one of the things you notice is that people lose weight. So when they lose weight, yes, a lot of times their liver disease is reversed. It does work, right? But you have to ask yourself, to what cost? So why we want to reverse the disease process in the first place is because we want to live long, right? We want to live without frailty, right? Without complications from a stroke or heart attack. Unfortunately, the diet that most keto diets are high in saturated fat and high in animal proteins, two things that are correlated to decreasing the chances of you living long. Those who are on high protein, high fat diets, population studies show they tend to not live as long because they are at higher risk of heart attacks, higher risk of strokes, dementia, cancer. So all causes, they call this all-cause mortality, increases with your consumption of fat and protein. And that's something to think about too, because when people have liver disease, they usually don't die from liver failure. The leading cause of liver disease, that's interesting enough, the leading cause of death for those who have liver disease is heart attacks. It's heart disease. So why would you trade so you're going on a keto diet so you can reverse your liver disease, but now you're on a diet that promotes heart disease, the very thing that liver disease was going to kill, was cause you to die from. So yeah, I think we need to look at not just the short-term goals, but the long-term goals. And the long-term goals is I want to live long, I want to live healthy, and there is a diet that does that. It's possible maybe to go on a keto diet and be plant-based, but why do that when there are so many wholesome, healthy carbs that you can include without limitation, right? Without restriction, and see your disease reverse.
I remember looking at the blue zones, and that 50 to 80% of the calories consumed by these longest living people in the world, 50 to 80% of their calories were from complex carbohydrates. And so, that's not candy and soda and white bread and pastries, like you said. It is whole plant foods. It really works. The longest living people in the world, studied in the blue zones, are majority of their calories, up to 80%, from carbohydrates. So we got to be careful when we talk about carbohydrates, don't we? I mean, it can be either something terrible or something awesome. It depends what you mean by carbohydrates, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad we're talking about the carb problem too, because so many people would say then, if I get rid of the carbs and I'll just focus on the fat. But fat is more of a problem. I actually talked about this before. There were studies that show that if you overfeed, they overfed individuals with over 1,000 calorie surplus. So basically 1,000 calories over what they may need to maintain a normal body weight. You overfeed anybody with anything, protein, carbs, or fat, they're going to gain weight and have liver fat. But what's interesting is those who were overfed those calories coming from sugar or refined carbs, their liver fat went up by 33%. Those who overfed calories on fat, their calories are coming from saturated fat-rich sources, their liver fat shot up even higher by 55%. So we know if there's one, both are a problem, but fat is a bigger problem, by far for sure.
That is massive. That's almost twice as much liver damage from the equivalent amount of excess calories in the form of fat versus in refined carbs.
Yep.
That I did not know it was that big of a difference. I was just
Mhm.
like, well, I just want to eat whole plant foods, high complex carbohydrates, and avoid excess fatty foods from, like you said, meat, dairy, eggs, and also avoid the refined carbohydrates. But it kind of motivates you even more to
Yeah.
avoid those high fat foods. Not that I'm saying I'm going to go now and you just gave me permission to eat a bunch of white bread and go binge on soda. I used to binge on soda, folks. I
That was
know of what I speak. I am a recovering addict, and so you don't need to worry though, because I realize, and I think everybody knows, soda's bad for you, right? Don't drink the high fructose corn syrup, like you were saying, the fructose and what it does to the liver, to so many functions in our body. It is well demonized. But I think a lot of people miss out on what you're presenting here, that the dangers from the high fat animal foods exceed the dangers from bad carbs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because mostly you probably heard the saying, everything in moderation, right? But my thing is, poison in moderation is still poison. You know?
Yeah, that's true. That's
So,
so
but yeah,
true.
I don't want anyone. I'm not giving a free pass to sugar or refined carbs. Obviously, it's still a problem, but we need a. That's why I love the term coined by Dr. Campbell, T. Campbell, that we need to eat more low fat, whole food, real food. Right, means rich complex carb, rich sources, rich in fiber that are plant based.
That's awesome. I always go like, give me the full fiber foods.
Yeah.
That's my phrase for it. I don't think that's a technical medical term in any field, but basically the food with all of its fiber in it. It's
Yeah.
not been refined. It's not
Yes.
been altered.
Yeah.
So yeah, subscribe to Lewis's YouTube channel there. And also, Jeremy, if you could put the QR code up, he was mentioning people he works with, consultations that he does. I want folks to really feel encouraged to go and book an appointment with Lewis at lewisbertus.com. And you got diabetes, go to this brother. You're going to get that solved. You're going to get that reversed by God's plan and the ideal methods there, where you get to still enjoy food and you get to eat plenty of it. So that's the great thing about fiber. I'm a big fan of fiber. I know people have picked that up in the various interviews, but also on the detox front, I like how you're talking prevention. You're talking about reversing with diet. And Jeremy, if you wouldn't mind flashing up the Living Springs detox program, if you were to do that in conjunction with that dietary change that we are talking about right now, this is like the reset program right here. You purchase the course, you invest in that day in and day out on your 7 days, learning a lot with guest Barbara O'Neill, of course. LSR and everybody's favorite Barbara O'Neill is in the course, and you'll really learn a lot and practice it. You do it just like you do with your consultations with Lewis. It's not just to chat. It's to get a program. I'm going to do this. Here's my blood work. Here's what we're doing. Do you look at people's blood work, Lewis?
I do. I definitely
Good.
encourage getting the right lab work as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Jeremy, can we get some questions up on the screen?
Yeah. While you're doing that, I noticed a question I wanted to answer that.
Oh, sure. Go for it.
So someone was asking about so your tinctures. Yeah, one question I can't really answer too much is like when it comes to herbal or detoxes. I don't really specialize in that. More on biochemistry. I can answer a lot of biochemistry, nutritional questions, but a lot. I know we had questions about gallbladder being removed, and then a question about fat. Whole food plant-based diet will be best, because one thing that the gallbladder is important to is one of the gallbladder's jobs is obviously to help digest fat. So when you remove the gallbladder, now you have a hard time with fats. Guess what? When you eat a whole food plant-based diet, you're decreasing a lot of that, especially the harmful fats. Doesn't mean you're no fat. A whole food plant-based diet is not no fat. You still have healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, maybe a little extra virgin olive oil, so those healthy fats you are still in a diet, but there's still overall a reduction in total fat intake, which is going to be best for with someone without a gallbladder.
We had Barbara O'Neill on a couple of weeks ago again, and she was talking about, sometimes people get fat phobia, and she's like, I have a half a teaspoon of olive oil with every meal, and it's like that's a little different than the French fries at McDonald's, isn't it?
It is, yeah. and so the only thing is like my client base, they're coming from very highly insulin resistant states, so that's why my clients specifically, I do counsel them to even try to cook without oil, because it makes the process of releasing the fat in the liver and muscles a lot quicker, but definitely I don't villainize that extra virgin olive oil like a lot of people do either. Yeah.
But you could turn that into your deep fry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm getting away from the bad seed oils, and I'm consuming 600 calories of coconut oil and avocado oil and extra virgin olive oil, and you can go overboard on that for sure, because technically that is a refined food. It's had the fiber taken out. So yeah, be careful with your oils for sure. How many days do you need to fast, Lewis, to empty the stored glycogen from the liver?
Yep. And also, I always like to remind people too that there's 9 calories in every gram of fat versus 4 in every gram of carbs. So even you're gonna lose weight faster when you eat without oil, but that's optional. When you eat without oil, it's just easier. So how many days do you need to fast to empty the stored glycogen from the liver on average? Very good question. So from the studies I've read, really fasting starts to get the most benefit at 24 hours. So you see a lot of people doing 16. There are some benefit, but the most benefit when you go to autophagy, when the cells start cleaning themselves out, I like to call the glycogen the fridge. When the fridge is now empty, right? All the glycogen is depleted, and now the freezer's open. The liver, the fat, I call the fat the freezer. The freezer's open, and now it's starting to burn, right? So for best results, 24 hours, you could start seeing those results of seeing the fat burning. And what happens, your body doesn't say, okay, let's get rid of all the glycogen. No, it saves the glycogen. It starts burning fat. That's what's awesome about fasting. You're forcing your body to now transition to using fat for fuel. And that's where insulin resistance starts to be reversed.
Excellent. Now, the next question here about what's the easiest way to cleanse your liver. I think basically what you've already said, right, on reversing liver disease with dietary change. And then, Jeremy, if you could put that QR code up again for the detox course, that may get into some of those elements where Lewis is saying he wouldn't necessarily specialize in the cleansing aspects as much, but take that course and you will have a cleanse that's the answer to your question. You will go through a thorough cleanse, but also the body is really, what does Barbara O'Neill teach? Is that, that your body heals itself, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not just Barbara O'Neill, that's our creator God. He made our bodies to heal. So when you follow the dietary prescription that Lewis will give you, you're going to find that your body is cleansing it. And so it's not some special pill, right? It's not just like this one tincture and I take this and my liver problems are solved. We do need to get into the tough work of the self-discipline on our appetite. Oh yeah, the book Sustain Me. That's a good one from Barbara O'Neill. You folks should get that. That makes a good Christmas present. But would you agree with that? I'm talking out of turn here. This is your
you need to stop and think about it. If I want my knee to stop hurting, I don't take a Tylenol. I stop slamming it with a hammer. Okay?
There you go.
You can't keep whacking your knee and popping pills and wondering why knee still hurts. We got to stop the offense.
Yeah. You got it. Next question, Jeremy. Is there a natural way to reduce glycogen release from the liver similar to GLP-1 drugs?
Yeah, I think we kind of answered that already. So basically, fasting is going to be helpful for that, and especially your prolonged 16 to 24 hours, even better. You can start doing that. But what's nice is when you're eating, when you're forcing your body to live in a low-fat environment, right? Now the body's starting to release some of that fat that's stored in the muscle and liver, and that's where insulin resistance starts to reverse. your body is now sensitive to insulin and now can start using the glucose that's trapped in the blood, right? So it's everything we've been saying, eating more whole food, reducing animal-based foods that are higher in saturated fat. Fasting is going to speed up things too.
Excellent. Gracie Lou says, I have non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. I've had 2 bleeding issues 2 years apart. What do you have to say?
I'm so sorry to hear that, Gracie Lou. My prayers are with you. But what's nice is that even at this stage, you can stop the damage. Okay. Now, from what I have seen on liver societies and specialists, what they say is even in late stages, when you're talking about now liver inflammation, and cirrhosis, you're able to not only stop, but you could also reverse some of that damage, right? But that's why it's so important for you to start now, because this can be fatal. This I don't want to scare you to anyone too much, but this can be fatal. This has been known to take a life. I remember reading a story from a book. Everyone probably is familiar with Dr. Greger. He talks about the story of his first time in seeing an endoscopy, and where a lady literally choked to death on her own blood, and what caused it was liver failure. Your body literally gets so backed up like a pipe system, where blood starts oozing into the esophagus. So you take this serious for sure. Take this serious for sure.
Yeah. Greger's book, How Not to Die, and the follow-up book, How Not to Diet. All right, I don't remember which one came first, but great resources, good books, and raw vegan food helps to clean it quickly. Yeah, do you like the raw? I know you're.
I do have some clients that do more like close to raw, or I've had people do 100% raw. What's nice is, again, it really comes down to releasing the fat, forcing the liver to release its fat. Any diet that reduces the amount of fat is going to work. It's not 100% necessary, but yeah, it'll work.
Good. Yeah. Jess says, can you explain nutmeg liver?
No, sorry, I can't. I'll have to look that up. I'm sure it's beneficial.
Sorry, Jess.
Nutmeg is very potent and very antioxidant rich. So what's really cool about God's nature is never one thing. I know a lot of times you want to look at what is that one thing that will do it. It's a combination of things. So for sure, it doesn't hurt to use nutmeg. For sure, yeah.
Melinda, my husband had itchy eyes and weight around the abdomen. I'm assuming she's alluding to those were kind of indicators of his liver disease.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I think I had addressed that for fatty liver disease, there are no symptoms until you get to the later stages. However, there are other causes of liver disease in general. So you definitely want to get checked out if you're starting to have symptoms like that.
How high does the AST need to be to know you have liver disease? I think you answered that. What did you say? So below 50?
I don't recall the exact AST number, but ALT is the one. There's 2 enzymes, AST and ALT. ALT is the one that's very, very specific for liver disease or fatty liver, signs of fatty liver. And so 30 for men, 19 for women. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, BLK, for your question. Myrtle says, I'm Myrtle watching from Papua New Guinea. Welcome from PNG. Your question is, does liver disease contribute to forgetfulness? I think you talked about that, didn't you?
I had mentioned, so I had called some of these questions. Again, liver disease, is asymptomatic until you get to like the later stages. So there can be some forgetfulness. Now, I would imagine maybe possibly so even before the later stages, because one of the things liver does is detoxify, right? So if toxins start building up, of course they start, and it can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause forgetfulness. So,
yeah, good. Gracie Lewis again with us. My doctor didn't believe me for a long time that I wasn't a drinker. Mine stemmed from diabetes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate that. Thanks, Gracie Lou. My mom has bile duct cancer. By the way, my wife told me that I pronounced your name wrong, Cyriline. And did I get that wrong again, Lewis? My wife's probably listening right now, shaking her head. She's like, honey, that's a color. It's a lovely name. And you butchered her name. She didn't rub it in, but she avoided sugar, but would eat a lot of carbs. And she used to take a lot of medication. I wonder if that's the cause, she's wondering.
So that's the interesting thing when people say they don't eat sugar. They usually don't take in consideration that a lot of products have added sugar, and sometimes that sugar is hidden. The name of the name sugar is hidden. So yeah, it's very unlikely for someone on a high carb diet that's coming from complex carbs to cause liver damage. It's very unlikely because those carbs, those healthy carbs, are packaged differently than sugar is. They're packaged in fiber, micronutrients, phytochemicals. They're all preventive of disease, and that's why, like you said, population-based studies, those who have high carb consumption, you don't see the prevalence of liver disease that we do.
Okay. Do you think the medication can contribute to that? She was wondering.
Yeah. Did I miss that part? Go back to that question.
Yeah. She said her mom takes a lot of medication and wonders if that contributes.
The
bile duct cancer.
There's a lot of medication. Yeah, there are certain medications that can cause damage to the liver. So, like I was saying, there are multiple so non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is just one cause of liver disease. Their medications could be a cause too.
Okay. And I'm assuming that would relate to the bile duct cancer as a related element of an organ there.
Yeah, another element would be someone who having infection or cancer. Yeah, all those can correlate. So yeah, it's not. I'm glad she asked that because it's not always the diet.
Yeah. Betty is wishing everybody health and happiness. Welcome, Betty, and happy holidays to you also. Appreciate that. And Anna Lynn, hello, my dad is diabetic. He drinks alcohol and smokes. Now he's having problems with his testicles. He's 69 years old. That's not good to hear.
Yeah. But same advice I give all. That's what I love about this approach that God gave us. It's one diet that is beneficial for all conditions and all persons. So yeah.
Absolutely. Melinda, yes, did blood tests. Thank you, Lewis. And altering diet and detoxing using coconut milk instead of almond now. Looking to HDL and LDL, milk thistle, and omega. Very good. Yes, makes sense. Wow, thank you.
Yep.
Sarah Lean. Refined sugar is truly toxic. I now realize how much. Yeah. And you were mentioning, Lewis, it goes by many names, right? Brown rice syrup, evaporated cane juice. They've got all these ways to. They have multiple different sugars in one product, so that if you combine the sugar with all of them, it would need to be the first ingredient.
Yeah,
but since they use two or three different kinds of sugars, well, then it's nothing's the highest ingredients except the oats in the granola bar or whatever. So yeah. Andrea says shalom, and shalom also to you, Andrea. PTL says, what can you do to keep your liver healthy if you just had the gallbladder removed?
Yeah, we had answered that already too.
Yeah. Okay.
We're recycling questions now.
Yeah. Organic fat is good in moderation. Yeah. And when you mentioned Colin Campbell and these others, what is the research on? We talk 50 to 80% of the calories from carbohydrates, good quality carbohydrates. So are you looking at like 15% of calories from fat is best for reversing heart disease?
Yeah. So whole food plant-based diet is not no fat diet, right?
Yeah.
Your fat is going to come from healthy fats sources, unsaturated fat sources, and ideally from about 15%, 30 grams daily or so. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you for that. And Melt says, praise the Lord, take digestive enzymes with each meal. Is that something you recommend? Wouldn't hurt, yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Mel. And Victor says, I never been in plant-based diet. I think he's never been on a plant-based diet and needs to know what to eat. Yeah. How do you eat a whole food plant-based diet? Like name 10 foods. Name 10 staple foods. At that point, Jeremy, I hope you have the code. I know I usually have the code for my recipe list that I have right here. I advertise 250 plus recipes in one collection that are all whole food plant-based. So hopefully we can get a code in there and share it with the people, make it, available. There it is. Okay. Well, that'll take you to the website. Can they find it there? So that should take you to the website or allow you to book an appointment. So yeah. Well, I can tell you the way our family does the whole plant foods is at breakfast. It's grains, fruits, nuts and seeds, in their whole form. And, some honey, enjoy your breakfast. And then at dinner, it's grains, vegetables, legumes, and maybe avocado or
maybe return to and also some greens. Our dinner, we have a little saying, we have a little rhyme: fats, grains, greens, vegetables, and beans. So
I
we make
like
sure
that.
to have our lentils or our chickpeas or just the legume family, and then
Okay.
your vegetables, your sweet potatoes, your broccoli. I mean, and endless vegetables. It's just the wonderful thing about this plant kingdom based diet is there's so much variety. So I was going to ask you 10, like give me 10 foods. No, how about 250 recipes? I did a video a while back called the 28 fundamental foods. And it was I had to rule out some of the best stuff just to narrow it down to 28 awesome foods. Des is wondering, is the program available online for persons living outside the USA?
Absolutely is, yes. So if you book a consultation, we meet either through the phone or through Google Meet, and all our future appointments together are virtual. So I do work with people outside the U.S. Yeah.
Excellent. Jeremy, anybody else coming up? Or are we going to say bye to folks? There it is. Yeah, there we're booking an appointment with Lewis there again.
All right.
Coconut oil. Talk to us.
Yes. So, kind of addressed that already. So those plant oils, coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil, if you are a person who is living with diabetes or insulin resistance, my advice is to do without it, right? Now, if you're struggling with that idea, then include it, but still avoid all other sources of animal-based foods and minimize their minimize their consumption. If you're still struggling, then go back to the oil. It's just one of those things that's very easy to decrease your fat intake when you're cooking with vegetable broth or water, and it's very possible to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeannie. Appreciate you asking the question. PTL, thank you for addressing your removal of gallbladder.
Welcome. Yep.
Andrea, do you think doing a parasite cleanse is beneficial before or after a detox cleanse?
I can't speak on that, or I don't know if you have any products that are similar to a parasite cleanse, Scott. But yeah,
I can't think of one offhand. Jeremy's gonna pop something up there if we have it, I'm sure. But or in the chat, Vanessa or somebody else may suggest something in there. But yeah, parasites, that's a whole other discussion. That's a pretty big ball of wax to unpack there. People have been misdiagnosed with things, and all along it was simple as it's parasites.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's fasting though, because when you talk about any detox, any way to detox and purify the body is to put it into autophagy, right? When your cells have a self-cleaning ability, and that really kicks into gear when you're fasting. Your body's ability to clean itself. So.
Yep. And avoid the certain meats that are going to increase the parasite exposure as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Jay Wright says, awesome health. That's good to hear. I like that. I meant a few words there. The Watchman says, oregano oil hard on the liver?
I'm not too sure if of oregano's oil effect on the liver. So I can't really answer that. I know oregano oil is great for antiviral, antibacterial properties.
Yeah.
But as far as effect on the liver, how are you using it?
Yeah, it's not something you're just taking every day year round, right? I mean, the oregano oil, you're fighting something. Somebody in your family's gotten something. You pop a couple of oregano oils, or taking liquid form or whatever. It's a treatment for something. It's not a food.
Yeah. So used appropriately, it shouldn't be a problem. No.
Yeah. Pat says, my mom has a stage 4 cirrhosis. She's already keeping a clean diet. One thing is concerning constipation. Nothing seems to work consistently. She switches from natural T and natural G. Well, anyway, what do you have to say there, Lewis, about the constipation challenges?
First, sorry, of course, sorry to hear that. One thing that's helped some of my clients is flaxseed. Flaxseed can be very effective in constipation, and you could put flaxseed in everything. Smoothies, and smoothies themselves can also help. With constipation. Cereals, oatmeal. Generally, when you're eating clean, I'm guessing you're eating high fiber foods already. So that might be something to try, just sprinkling flaxseed onto things and see if that helps. So
Lots of fruit too. Sweet
fruit,
potatoes.
yeah, fruits for sure. Anything, yeah, fruits, vegetables, and those things because of the fiber content are going to help you go a little more smoothly.
Can there be a problem with too much, coarse vegetables, too much, raw salads,
If you're not
kale, broccoli?
if you're not accustomed to eating, high fiber, whole food, plant-based diet, I always advise people go slow first. Yeah, because you haven't formed the gut bacteria that's required to munch on that fiber. So usually, I don't know if the person is just transitioning, you might need to slow down on the foliage, right? Especially the they call it the FODMAP. So there are certain foods that are harder for your digestive system. So you might have to look at that and decrease some.
Okay.
Reintroduce it slowly. Yeah.
Good.
Someone
CC
mentioned,
says,
yeah, that works too. Yeah, for sure.
Does blood work showing high lipase levels and pancreas issues be another indication that there are liver issues, or is this just bile and digestive issue? Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So, yeah, so lipase levels can indicate liver health as well. Yeah. So generally, we're looking at bilirubin, amylase lipase, AST, ALT. Those are, I believe there's one more. But those are generally what we look at. But to indicate liver fat, liver disease, fatty liver disease, you're gonna want to do image, which is usually done in ultrasound, and that's really easy, inexpensive way to diagnose it. Yeah.
Great. Vern says, does a bad liver affect your kidneys?
What's crazy about this is that what doesn't it affect? The liver does so many things, that if when you have a bad liver, as you say it's going to affect every organ, including your kidneys. Yep.
Yeah. Pat, also my mom with cirrhosis stage 4 has skin lacerations on her face, I think is what that should say. That does not heal and keeps opening up. Any suggestions?
Yeah, so that's going to be most likely a side effect of having that stage 4 cirrhosis, because one thing that's affected is your ability to clot and heal. So yeah, just going on following this dietary advice, not only you're halting the damage, but there is certain level of reversal even in late stages. You're not going to go back to a healthy liver for sure. You're not going to jump from stage 4 to stage 1. But from my understanding, it is possible to go from stage 4 to like stage 3 with enough changes.
People who've been through this probably want to give advice to everybody listening. You've only got one. Treat it right, right?
Yes.
Cheryl, I have had pain for years, right side of abdomen from belly button and sometimes to right kidney. Is that a liver issue? She wonders. Thank you so much.
Pain from years, the right side of the abdomen from belly button to the kidney. It's possible. It's definitely want to get tested. You want to go to your primary care, have them do a physical exam, lab work, and imaging, because the liver is a large organ, and that area can indicate a problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
God bless for sharing this information, Pat says. Des says, also, is the Living Springs Retreat program also available online? I've been trying to reach out for a while. Please advise. Thanks. Des, yes, the 7-day detox course is the Living Springs experience brought to the world, because most people can't come to Alabama. And we'd love to have everybody, but most people can't do that in person. So that's what's behind the detox course offering, is to really bring that intensive learning and practical application experience to everybody. And you can give that as a gift. How about give that as a Christmas gift, and somebody starts the new year off the first 7 days with that? Wouldn't that be a good kickstart to a New Year's resolution? But I want to caution people on that, because sometimes this time of year we give ourselves such license. It's just like, oh, it's the holidays, I'll get it handled in New Year, and then we don't. And even if you do, you've inflicted harm by just, caution to the wind, eat whatever I want. It's pig out time, and the holidays just party time. And it's like, don't abuse yourself. Enjoy the holidays by eating temperately, enjoying the gifts of God and family. And if you end up binging on junk food, actually, it makes you more depressed, and you end up with more seasonal affective disorder that it's already going to be a tough time in the northern climates. So anyway, little tip and advice from your brother Scott, that everybody try to stay healthy through the holidays. See if you lose a few pounds instead of gain, and then also enjoy that Turkey Day or whatever you want to call it. We have it's a whole plant food Thanksgiving dinner, but I hope everybody truly enjoys it, and also sets a plan for New Year's resolution as well.
Right.
So, we do have another one. Constipation warm-up prune juice works within an hour. There we go. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
Prune juice. Yeah, good call. Thanks, Jackson. Jackson 321. Jeremy brings up Janelle. Good night. What advice do you have for someone with giant hepatic? Oh, guys, I'm going to be wearing glasses soon. Hemangioma.
It's basically enlarged blood vessels. So that usually doesn't cause problems. It usually is asymptomatic. But I'm guessing if someone has it, they are one of those rare ones who do have problems with it. The only way to really treat it is through surgery, or what they do is cauterize or ligate the blood vessel. But it shouldn't be a cause for concern as far as like disease or having side effects, other than maybe if you have discomfort, then talk to your doctor to get that treated.
Well, thank you. I think we're cruising to the end here. You're welcome, Pat. It's been a good chat with you guys about the liver. You're welcome, Cheryl, and thanks to Lewis. I'm just hosting here. I didn't do anything, but I love being here with all you guys. I love the interaction. I hope a bunch of you go and book an appointment with Lewis, get that detox course, and our learning together doesn't stop here with our LSR Live programs. As much as I enjoy them, it's an hour that comes and goes so quickly. And stay on Lewis's YouTube channel, stay on LSR YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching this, and keep up on the videos. I'm sure folks have been seeing me a little more on there. I'm happy to be contributing as well to the channel. And there's Lewis's channel on the QR code. And so as we head off in America, happy Thanksgiving to you all, and to those around the world, just happy Thursday to you tomorrow, and average Thursday. And we're going to see you guys all next LSR Live. We're going to talk to LSR's own Josh Hollander on natural remedies products, a very popular subject. We get a lot of questions about the store products, so we're going to have the store manager give us all the updates on what the latest is there, what you want to get, when you want to get it, why you want to get it for these holidays, and help you with your Christmas shopping, and answer your questions about the products in there that people often ask about. So you can ask the expert on it next Wednesday, December 4th, starting at 7 Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, as always. And thanks to our producer, Christian Digital Network, from likes to lives changed. Subscribe to CDN's YouTube channel by scanning that QR code. We're going to say bye to our friend Lewis. Thank you for being here again with an excellent program on the liver. And I'll say bye to you all. I'm Scott Ritsema, host of LSR Live, and we'll see you next time, next Wednesday, and have a great week. God bless you all.